Good. How are you doing in Zagreb?
Oh, good. I mean, it's just working. It's been a really lovely day, and the weather, everything's just going really, really well, especially just preparations for moving into the new campus as well. So that's quite exciting.
Cool. Nice to hear, So when are you moving? When's the move day?
So I think it's the end of the month. We're seeing hopefully a little bit beforehand, but the move should be before the 30th. But how is everything where you're at?
I think it's a great. It's a great. So I'm here in Göteborg, Sweden, which is a really lovely city. Yesterday, I had some chance also to walk a bit around, and
was it beautiful?
I met one of my good friend, and it was fantastic. Also,
that's nice. And the weather, is it okay?
Yeah, yesterday was nice and sunny. I really enjoyed it. Today it's a bit rainy.
Oh, really?
But everybody here says it's a typical, Swedish weather. So
Swedish weather, maybe it's similar to English weather as well. That kind of a little bit sunny, a little bit rainy.
Geographically, they're very close. They're definitely very close geographically. So I could imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I heard that Göteborg, it's basically kind of a rocky place, so compared to the other coast, this is like a west coast of Sweden, and they have much more rocks, not so much of vegetation, so greenery.
Oh, and, so it's not that green actually.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes, and then basically what they told me, they are really happy sometimes for the rain, because the rain brings the vegetation getting up, and
that's why it's not that rainy. Well, maybe today, it's good that it's raining then. So who knows? But more people will also be inside. So there we go. But fantastic.
So
great.
That's really cool, and basically what I learned also about the Göteborg is that this is one of the best cities in the world by taking care about the environment, So paying attention. Yeah.
I mean, I know that they are very eco-conscious, which is fantastic.
Yes.
I'm very pro that. Absolutely.
Sweden in general, it's like that, but Göteborg, it's even more.
Specifically.
And very, very proud. I spoke with a few young people, with some students, I found some students you won't believe around. And I think every discussion goes into that, and about kind of recycling and sustainability. And
it's very much up my street. Yeah, I love all those topics.
I didn't check that, but they said that they're for the 3 consecutive years, kind of the winners of some competition in sustainability, which is really fantastic. Yeah. So it's
no, I know, because Sweden is really, ahead of the game, shall we say, for sustainability, being eco-conscious and aware and recycling. So trying to get that through the rest of Europe would also be nice. Maybe a little bit more so in Croatia. At least that's my opinion.
I was basically shocked, so I went down to the port, and I have seen the big, ferry boat, it was many of those trailers, trucks in front of it. And then I looked the boat, and it says, battery powered. It was for me, it was shocking, so I couldn't even imagine, for such a big, it's long, it's like maybe 200 meters long boat. And just imagine, battery powered, and it's a Swedish, so. And I say to myself, oh my God, the size of this battery must be, enormous. So how could they even charge that, kind of batteries there?
Interesting. Well, I think you're going to have. How long are you there for?
I'll be, heading back tonight, so.
Tonight, fantastic. Okay, I hope you enjoy the rest of your time there as well. I'm sure
I will.
Even if it is raining slightly, I'm sure you'll see some wonderful things.
Yeah. Do you know where I am now?
I can't. Yes, I can see. I can see.
It's a club. It's a club. So that's what we are going to do. So the masterclass will be here.
Yes.
The company name is Lynk & Co. Yeah, so the automotive brand.
Fantastic.
And basically same group with the Volvo and Chinese Geely. you know, and I'm in the club now. And
that's fantastic.
This club is, as I just mentioned, for the Swedish, you know, kind of mentality and new tradition. You know, it's very much about recycling and about sustainability. So I'll show you some things, you know, like
yes, please. See, I would really love to see them as well.
So you see everything here. It's about the sustainability, you know. So if you see this pillar here, this is a car that was once a car. It's smashed, you know, and they use it as a pillar, as a holder.
That's fantastic. It's really similar to eco blocks. So I know that in certain countries they make bricks out of plastic bottles or recycled materials. So they kind of squish them together. Oh, I didn't know that's from cars. That's fantastic.
So basically this is the club of Lynk & Co. You see lots of social space, you know, some folks here working a bit, you know, so. And then usually, you know, they are really social, you know, so you could just jump into the club and, you know, if you need the internet, if you could do certain things, you know. And here they say they even have some clothes here. But what they told me, it's the clothes is made of all the recyclable materials, you know, with fully ecology conscious.
That's
you know?
very cool. That's really interesting. Yes.
You see the bar over there?
Yes. So you can relax a little bit after your class.
If it's a car brand, you know, and what is really interesting, you know, is that, you know, you cannot even find anything from the kind of traditional heritage of the car brands. It's totally new. I mean, the whole idea, the concept, and I would say this customer experience, omnichannel journey, it's totally different, you know, what I have seen so far, you know, in my experience, and I have a long experience in automotive, so it must be really
it's quite unique. Yes, that's fantastic.
And you see they sell some other goods, and they always work with the local companies, you know,
for local businesses. Oh, great.
Yeah, local businesses, and whatever you see, it's kind of recycled. You know, so if you see the shirt,
I'm a big fan, especially for the clothing and bags, to be recycled. So that's fantastic. And they look also very modern, right? The clothes, or just in general, the building. So that's fantastic.
If you see this, you know, like, I don't know even how to call it, you know, seaters, sofas, you know. And it looks like a pebble.
Sofas, bean bags,
And I asked why this looks like a pebbles, and then they told me like this is the way, you know, how the coast looks here. There's lots of pebbles, as I mentioned. It's like very much rocky, you know. So and then that was just a recreation of the local, you know, look and feel here, which is here for this club characteristic, you know. So and here you could see some more of those stuffs which they basically kind of promote and sell, you know, some kind of toys, you know, so although done by the local, some dinosaurs, you know, some camping,
all recycled material.
That's just in a kind of look and feel of the brand.
It's really beautiful. I mean, they have really strong branding, as you can see that. So.
You know, what's that?
Oh no, I can't see. There we go. What is that? Is that a sauna?
Yes, sauna.
Is it actually? They have.
But if you want to have like a traditional meeting on the Swedish way, because sauna is very important for the traditional structure, you would sit here. I don't know how much you could see me, and you would have your counterpart there, and you would have a meeting here.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it's beautiful. It looks really beautiful.
Which is really, really cool, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we'll see a bit more later, you know. So, but our today's masterclass will be about talking to CEO of Lynk & Co. And it will be done here directly from the club, you know. So, and I think
it'll be really interesting.
Will explain, you know, about the strategy and how they're changing the way how they communicate and how they engage with the community. And I showed you some examples, you know. So, and I think it's really important. Yeah, because
fantastic, and we can have a Q&A session at the end as well. Yeah, so any questions can come through. I mean, I will be active in the chat, but any questions can come through the chat at any point, and we will get back to them at the end for the Q&A session.
Yes. So exactly like that. So there are questions, I mean, the whole masterclass will be more about, the CEO's, view on everything, how he's managing the business, and then we'll split the groups of the lecture into kind of leadership. It will be a lot about the leadership, because I'm teaching the digital transformations and data-driven marketing, but we'll also talk with Alain Visser about the leadership. And I think it will be really enjoyable session for many of our students.
It looks like it's going to be extremely interesting. So we're all looking forward to it. So yes.
Okay, so let me come to the place here. Now you will see to me, which is not really good, but I will switch off my mobile, and then I'll just move myself there
fantastic.
on another screen. So let me just do this technically. Hello, Gal?
Hi. Yes, we can hear you. Fantastic.
Good. So super good. So I will start with today's session. So I mean, Miro, you are with us. Before we start, I was showing a bit of the atmosphere of today's place for the Digital Café. So hello everybody once again who just joined us. And before we start, I got from our host today, Lynk & Co company, I got also some movie, which will be kind of bringing you into the feeling of this brand. So Miro, you could directly play the movie, and then after that, I will turn on my presentation, because before we start talking to Alain Visser, I will just show a few slides as always, and put the people into the context of today's kind of lecture. So Miro, please play the video.
Of course, just a second.
What if the world stood still for 96% of the time? What if we all just stopped? Things made to move didn't. Cars sit unused for 96% of the time. But together, we can change that. Together, we'll move more, fly more, play more, feel more, grow more, think more, care more, share more. It's time for a new way to car. Lynk & Co.
Okay, thank you, Miro, for that. I hope the level of the sound and the presentation was good enough. So I'll just start with my presentation. Just give me a sec. I have to share my screen. Okay. Gal, do you see my screen?
Yes, absolutely. We can see it.
Good. So once again, welcome to our new Digital Café Masterclass. As you could see, I'm in Göteborg, first time at Sweden, lovely Sweden. Yesterday we had the sunny weather. Today it's a bit rainy, but our guests here are telling me that it's a rain which is welcome, because they like to see kind of mixture in between rains and sun, because then there are lots of greenery around, because Göteborg is the region of and where there are lots of rocks and not so much of the vegetation. So it's good for their kind of production of the food. My today guest is Mr. Alain Visser. He is the CEO of Lynk & Co. Here at Göteborg, Sweden. I will speak more about Alain when he joins me just a bit later. And you will have a chance to ask him questions. So please use the Q&A box at Zoom, and ask the questions, as you see something interesting, as you will have a need to ask, just feel free to ask. As I mentioned in our intro, our presentations and the lecture masterclass will be split at several batches. First one will be, I will speak about Alain, about himself and developments, more about the leadership. We'll speak about innovation. We'll speak about marketing. We'll speak about the customer experience, how one CEO is seeing all this is his life. And I'll try to be as provocative as possible, that we get something out of our speakers so that we learn and understand, so how each of you would look into that and potentially get promoted or looking for a better future for you. So, but before I start, just a few technical details, like any time, which I am speaking about at the beginning of the Digital Café. So first of all, today it's 10th of May. We are progressing with the Masterclass with the Digital Café with Alain Visser. I would like to remind you that next week on the 17th, we would have another Digital Café, which will be about the metaverse with our guest from Meta, our Facebook, Paul Wiedermeyer, and Michael Fuchs from Circle 4X, which will speak about the metaverse, and we will discuss about the several use cases and how the metaverse is becoming a new internet. Also, I would like to remind you and ask you to register for our Digital Café at June. 21st of June, we'll speak about the customer experience at Mercedes. We will have our guests from Mercedes, Marco Gehrig, and from Experience One. This is the agency which is supporting Mercedes into building the customer experience. And we'll have Marcus with us, who is the co-founder of Experience One agency. So interesting two topics to follow to this masterclass, and I hope you would join us. Today we had like 200 registrations, which is the kind of average number of the registration for our podcast or the webinars. So thank you very much once again for joining, and looking forward to see you at the next Digital Cafés. Comments and questions, please once again feel free to ask our today's guests, but also if you want to ask in advance any of my the future guests, anything, please just use some of my contacts. You have here have my email, or you could find me on LinkedIn and ask it there directly. So it's up to you which communication channel you would like to use. So before we start with Alain, as I also have some background in automotive industry, I'll just give you a few facts and figures and try to give some intro to you about the current changes in the automotive industry. So, but before that, just a small reminder about our program, which is the customer data-driven marketing. And I think today what I see here at Lynk & Co could be really embedded in the materials which I'm teaching. And as I see a very, very strong omni-channel connections, in between the digital and the physical space. And Alain will talk more about that, but I see more and more companies are doing just exactly that. From the moment, from the times that many companies were building the digital journeys, and like Amazon or Alibaba or many like that, or Shopify, now I see that even such companies are moving back into the physical space and building this relationship, connecting and selling the customer experience, much more than a product. So the customer experience become really the product as itself. And Alain will talk about that
a lot. He will speak about the mission of Lynk & Co. and how they want to be closer to the customers and bring them something additional and the new, so far what we have seen at the automotive industry. As part of our course, data-driven marketing, I'm also showing a lot about the journeys, how to build the journeys, how to define the personas for the certain journeys. I speak about the technology. It's like a customer data portal, reputation management technology, and all other technology, which is basically putting together like dots and points at the customer experience in the digital or the physical space. And of course, today, the biggest asset is the data. And I'm speaking also about the data, big data, how to build the brand gardens, how the first party data strategy is important in changing the way how we are running the business. Many companies are running business in today's age. So much about the program. A few words about automotive. I will not be long, but what we could see in many titles in the media, we see that many companies in automotive are changing, and they say that the change which will happen in the next 10 years in automotive, it will be bigger than the whole 130 years so far. Why do we say that? Because I think we are all witnessing one major change, and the technology is bringing that major change. And with the usage of the different technologies, mobile phones, digital, wherever you could look around, you could see that the behavior of the customer is changing, expectations of the customers are changing. So this is one aspect of which is also kind of influencing automotive industry. The other aspect is like environment, which is related to CO2, because all automotive industry brands, manufacturers have a task to decrease emissions of the CO2. And with that, many started developing and investing into the electrical vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, so all other kind of source of the power for the vehicles, which is basically not producing pollution and different emissions. So the costs are here huge, and investments are huge, and you see that many companies are moving into that direction. You have traditional companies which are moving in that direction, but you have totally new vehicles and new brands which are just popping up at the market, like a Tesla, like a Rivan, like a Nikola, like Rimac in Croatia, which are basically starting with the production of the vehicles. The other trend, which is very strong, which is digitalization, because many companies are trying to put the digitalizations in the sales of the vehicle, and this also helps the customers to be in line with the time, in line with their expectations and requirements, how they want to also buy the vehicles. Many cases you will hear that the companies are speaking much more about the mobility than about owning of the cars. And connectivity is very, very important, because vehicles are also source of the informations of the data. And with the modern technology, with the 5G and with the data and the cloud technology, so the brands are also collecting those data, and then that's what will be used for autonomous driving of the vehicles, which is also approaching us. And we see that many brands are investing into that. And at the end, it's alternative sales models. And today we will be speaking about these alternative sales models, because as I mentioned, Lynk for me is the brand and the showcase how the companies could define and develop the strategy, which is sustainable, which is ecology, the cars which are hybrids, electrical cars, and then deliver it on a totally different way in terms of how the users, the customers are basically using those products more like subscription models, more like sharing models as a part of the SaaS platforms, and as a part of the mobility. And if you see this slide, you would see that in the last time since 2010, there is more than $330 billion of US dollars. This is the McKinsey data, which is used in investment. And you see it's invested in autonomous vehicles, connectivity, electrical vehicles, and the smart mobility. Alain will talk a lot about the smart mobility and why is this important for today's customers, and why for especially younger generations are choosing to kind of subscribe for the vehicles, like you subscribe, for example, for the mobile phone, or even to share their vehicles, to other, maybe friends, maybe family, to even decrease the cost of the using of the vehicles, or decrease the cost of the parking of the vehicles, because especially at the metropolitan areas, at the big cities, are basically affected with that, because the parking cost is getting really increasingly high, and that's some of the reasons why the mobility is getting such a high traction and importance at today's business in automotive. So this is in a short about my presentation. I just wanted a bit to reflect on the course of data-driven marketing, and a bit about the changes in automotive industry, which I think it's a revolutionary at this moment. Lynk & Co, it's the company which is basically going into that direction, and we'll hear more about that. So we just need like a minute or two that my guest Alain Visser is joining me. So before that, Miro, if you could please play another video that we just set up a differently scene for the continuation of the interview.
This is not a car. This is different. This is your car. Or a car for all of you. Shareable like a pizza. Or not. Your choice. This is a car for things. Just the way they want things. This is not an optional extra. Everything is included. This is not a disclaimer telling you that the car shown is not actually the car you get. This is the car you get. This is an escape. And so is this. This seat is made from nylon waste, like fishing nets and stuff. This is not a salesperson you'll ever have to have it with. This is everything taken care of. This isn't a commitment. This is a car for a month, 6 months, forever. It's up to you. This is not a car. This is a new way to car.
So hello once again, we are back, and I'm saying hello. I don't know if I could say welcome. I could maybe say welcome to the Digital Café. It's Mr. Alain Visser, CEO of Lynk & Co.
Great to be here.
Thank you very much. Before we start, I would just say a few words about Alain. I mean, I could speak along about his career. It's mainly connected to automotive. And Alain spent quite a long time in Ford, the motor company. Then he moved to General Motors. He was the Senior Vice President of Sales Marketing, After Sales. He is the Chief Marketing Officer of the company. Then he moved to Volvo as also Vice President for Sales Marketing. And now Alain is with Lynk & Co. So why cars, Alain?
Well, I must say I ended up in the car business purely by coincidence. It's a fun story, but I was just graduated from university. I studied languages and was doubting to study a bit more on business, but I ended up being hired as a very junior person in Ford, Belgium. So purely by coincidence in the car business. And then I ended up spending my whole career in the car business and realized in the last period that after 35 years in this industry, nothing has really changed. The car has evolved, but the industry is still doing the same. And if you're cynical, which I am, you could even say that the car has evolved less in the last 50 years than this device in the last 5 years. So it's a very arrogant industry, very powerful, where not a lot happens. That's my personal view.
Yes, cool. Let's stay a bit more on you, because we have lots of students, and those students, if they are MBA students or DBA students, they look a lot for the promotion. So I would just like to see, how could we move from one, let's say, employee position to the managerial position to executive position? You know, how did it happen to you? What was the moment you feel, now I'm employee and now I want to grab this managerial position, and how do I put myself, you know, in the time and the perspective? What skills do I need to build to become one day executive, like a vice president of Volvo or Opel?
It's a difficult one to answer. And I have to admit, when I started, I did not have that ambition at all. I was not at all ambitious. I never had the dream even, or the wish to become a vice president or CEO. Not at all. It just happened. And as you move on, you get ambitious and you like the promotions. But I would say, look, there's enough people with high intelligence. There's enough people with a lot of diplomas. I don't care too much, if not to say even at all, about diplomas. That's maybe wrong to say to students, but that's my personal opinion. I think it's all about the way you work. That you have to assume that if you start a company, you have a certain set of basic skills, maybe driven also by your diploma. But it's how you deal, how you work with these skills. I think it's working with people. I've always worked for big companies, and I think it's difficult to judge for myself because it's my bosses who made the decisions on my behalf. I think it's working with other people. I do not believe in geniuses. I do not in people who move something on their own. I do believe in people who manage to mobilize other people and motivate them. So I think it's very much the teamwork, but it's also the determination, the vision. And I always tell people, if you truly believe in something, go for it.
Do you see the difference in between when you are, let's say, on the lower level in organization, in terms of, you know, there is always this dilemma, you know, like what is more important for a certain person? Is it like to bring a strong performance in organization, or have this human, let's say, soft skills, which you mentioned, like dealing with the people, you know, making sure, you know, that the team works together to accomplish the goal. So how would you define that in terms, you know, the different levels in the organization?
Well, you have to perform, of course, and in any function you have things to deliver and you need to deliver. But if you deliver them without building great teams, without bringing great contacts, I don't think you will grow up. The fact is, however, there's bosses who say, I only care about performance. I don't care about the social skills. That happens. But I think you as a person, all the people who are listening to this session need to decide, what type of leader do I want to be? And if you work in a company that awards a different type of leadership that is more like pure performance and not social skills, then I would say change company. It's life is too short to work in companies where you think the values don't fit your values. I think my personal view is, the first thing is to determine for yourself who you are, what do you want to do, what kind of person do you are, what skills do you want to make shine. And if that doesn't work in company A, then leave company A and look for company B.
Well, what do you value at the Lynk & Co? What kind of culture is the Lynk & Co?
I think what we try to achieve at Lynk & Co is it's a very, very open culture, very diverse, different cultures, different backgrounds. I used to think in the beginning that we need to find people who fit to the culture. Now I think we need to find people who can add to the culture. But we try to be very open, very a little bit spontaneous, if not to say very spontaneous, very startup-like, where you are allowed to make mistakes. I would even say, it sounds maybe weird, encouraged to make mistakes. I would say if we don't make mistakes, we've probably made a big mistake.
Isn't that like a startup company? I hear lots of people, are you running the startup company or Automotive?
No, it is. And I think I always say we have best of both worlds. We're part of a big conglomerate, so you get the funding, but we are internally absolutely a startup. Absolutely.
Yes. Cool. So in terms of, let's say, again, we have lots of students which are listening to this conversation. And if you could give them some kind of advice for, let's say, next 3, 5, 10 years, you know, so where they should invest in terms of kind of maybe education, bringing new skills, because it's a lot about the skills, I would say today. It's less about, as you mentioned, maybe formal education, because I think the whole education changed, in that aspect. So how do you see that change is coming?
Yeah, and well, I would assume that everybody's in this school, in this program, after having finished it, has enough academic skills to do whatever. So I would say that part for me is tick the box. And let's face it, that there's the biggest leaders on this world, corporates, have not even concluded that. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and others, they haven't even concluded that. So that ticket of entry in some companies is still valid. For others, like for us, has no validity at all. So I think what the tip that I would give is two things. First, determine where do you want to see yourself? Where do you want to be? And a lot of people don't know, and that's not a problem. Just think about it. Where do you want to see yourself? And two is what is the best way to get there? Sometimes you get a promotion and you're happy, but if that promotion doesn't help you to get where you want to be, you should not take it. You should try to determine what it is you want. And I think that the skills you need to develop is, I have learned there is nothing you do on your own. Nothing. In any big company, there's nothing you can achieve on your own. But how can you grow your social skills, your team building skills, so that you can mobilize others, colleagues, bosses, other companies, suppliers, mobilize them to get what you want to do. And it's that is the part that I think is going to go.
So I feel that you are much more in this kind of behavioral leadership than fully focused on the performance and
because I personally believe that those team skills drive the performance. I'm totally convinced of it. And look, it's not because we try to be a kindergarten organization when everybody has fun. I happen to believe that if you like what you're doing, you're going to do it better anyway.
I could just refer to my discussion with the MBA students, and there are some currently today here, and we had exactly that discussion. And experience was that the younger students immediately jumped for performances, But when you had somebody who was a bit more senior, he was going immediately like imbalanced, way.
I'm not saying what we are doing is right and what the others are doing is wrong. There's just different people, and some people will think about me. What the hell is he talking about? My oldest son, works in London in the banking industry. When I hear his stories, that is exactly the opposite. I do not understand that the banking industry, which is even more of an old-fashioned industry than the car industry, their social competence levels, their social regulations haven't evolved for a century. It's all about working many hours, doing overtime. It's even working from home is seen as wrong. It's an industry that is so much lagging behind on the social part. And I'm not saying that's wrong, because look, there's a lot of people who go there and who like it or do it just for the money. And if you want that, then go there. If you're a social person, don't go and work for a bank, because you're going to be utterly disappointed.
You also finished the MBA study at the Duke University at North Carolina. What at that moment, what that meant to you? So what's changed in your life?
For me, it was, I think nothing changes. Just got a piece of paper, but it's the program itself for me was super important, super fun, and you learn to know a lot of people. Because look, the car industry is an incestuous world. It's everybody knows the car people. It's all within the industry, and then suddenly you come in contact with people other industries. That was for me the key learning, not the courses and the books, etc. It was just to expand your experiences. I considered the MBA because I studied languages. The totally wrong education for what I'm doing, and I thought, it's good. So at least now I have a Duke MBA. It's good, and it's within the car industry. It helped, and everybody, wherever you come, say, he has an MBA. Even you said it. I have an MBA from Duke. Has that increased my competence? I don't think so. I've learned a lot there. Would I have done worse without that? I don't think so. But it's just in this industry that is now evolving, where diplomas still matter. it's a tick the box.
Yes.
I don't think it's that important.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so we stay still a bit on you. So, I mean, just, one CEO and people could think about, wake up at 4 a.m. and then you gym and then you have a healthy drink and then you work out for 2 hours and drive bicycles and then send messages. How does it work one day for you? How do you bring the balance in between the private life and how do you relax? I mean,
that's the fun. Somebody was just asking me, I had a week vacation last week. And then everybody always asks me, were you able to switch off? And I always say yes, but switching off has become something else. And I'm not sure that I'm proud of it, but if somebody would tell me you're now going to spend one full day without emails and without social media, I would be immensely stressed. So for me, switching off does not mean dropping the job out. That creates stress for me.
Are you sending emails from vacation too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do. And I know, and people say, God, isn't he on vacation? But I'm maybe ashamed to say that, but I cannot switch off in that way.
Yeah.
I switch off mentally. I'm relaxed.
Yes.
I'm calm, but I have my phone with me. I have my Teams messages. We do everything via Teams at Lynk & Co. But we also have WhatsApp and WeChat and emails. So I'm constantly on top of my mail. And I think people expect from me also when something that needs to be approved, that I approved. And people make jokes about me that I sign everything very fast because I like it. That I'm not a bottleneck, but an enabler. So for me, a normal day is back-to-back meetings, try to communicate as much with people live, walking around in the office. And I come home and I can switch off mentally, but that doesn't mean that here my phone is now aside. I don't do emails.
Yeah.
I'll do emails for the rest of the evening and in the early in the morning and during vacation, which is, you could say sick, but that's it.
Good. So let's move a bit to Lynk & Co. Yeah. So what is Lynk & Co? Is this automotive company? Is it a startup? Is it SaaS? I mean, I still don't understand, to be honest.
It's definitely a startup within a conglomerate, as we discussed before. I would say from a personal point of view, Lynk & Co is a revolution against my past. But we worked together at Opel, at General Motors. I am proud of what I've done in the past, and I've loved every day of my career in the past, some days more than others. But when you look back at it, you think like, Jesus, there's something wrong. This industry bulldozers the same business model and over again. We design and engineer cars, we build them, and then we send them to dealers who sell them and repair them. And the world is moving on an incredibly fast pace. So for me, this was like there's a disconnect between modern society and the car industry. And there's an incredible, unsustainable business model that is being supported over and over and over again. So my view for Lynk & Co was, let's revolt against this industry, not saying the others are wrong, we are right, but there's more and more people who are looking for something very different. And I see Lynk & Co, that's why it's difficult sometimes to explain it, but I like the summary of the Netflix of the car industry. Yes, we do have a product, but it's not about the product, it's about the experience. And one of the key drivers of Lynk & Co is the fact that we see a global trend that people care more about doing things than about owning things. And that's what drives the whole business model.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you this before the interview, but it's the first time I will hear that. How did you sell this story to Gilly?
Well, look, it's an interesting story because, as you said, I was before the head of the operations of Volvo cars globally, and I was asked to start up a new car brand, and I had been walking around with this idea for years that the world doesn't need a new car brand. There's already too many, and they're all doing the same, and all the cars are good. There are no bad cars anymore. So I went over and showed on some A4 presentation, we're going to do a different business model, no dealers, no complication of no sales. And the first reaction was, I have to admit, they looked at me as if I was smoking the wrong substance. So it was not a very successful meeting. And they said, work on it a bit. So I came back and I presented exactly the same thing, but with more data and more And that went for 3-4 times. And then there was sort of a lukewarm, okay, start. They liked the idea that if a Chinese-owned brand would start in Europe and not only do what the others do, but do something very different, that it could be cool, that it helps the brand of the global firm. And then, yeah, I started alone on the 1st of October 2015. I'll never forget. I left my job with, 3,000, 4,000 employees, started alone, recruited 3-4 people. And
how was you sleeping at that time?
I have to admit that was one of the few days in my career where I thought, shit, what did I do? But now, 5 years later, it's the best decision I ever took. We're now 750. It's growing massively fast. It's working, and then it feels good. Because look, I've spent 6 years of my career now, the first time doing something I personally believe in, but also doing something that I knew the majority did not believe in. So it's a constant convincing, and that is now, that phase is over.
If I know this well, but Forbes magazine's also named you as one of the 10 most influential automotive executives by changing the things in automotive industry. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, that's there.
Is that connected to Lynk, or
that was also part Volvo in that time, and because let's face it, I think, let's be honest, it's easy to change things in the car industry because everybody's doing the same. I remember when I decided in my Volvo days we're not going to go to motor shows, that it was like a revolution. That's a Mickey Mouse decision not to go to motor shows, and it was a revolution because in this industry everybody does the same. I could tell you stories. One day I'll write a book about. I'll tell you another one. Our car is called 01. We decided 3 years ago that our cars are going to be called 1, the second one, 2, the third one, 3, 2, the second one, 3, the third one, etc. And I remember the engineers looking at me, Alain, you cannot do that. It's impossible. And I said, why? He said, but because the 03 could be a smaller car than the 01. And I said, yeah, and so what? An Audi 4 is a bigger car than an Audi 2, and a BMW 5 is bigger than the 3. But that's Audi's BMW. Our 1 is the first car, and our 2 is the second. And it was impossible. So just the smallest changes in this industry, it's such an old-fashioned industry where everybody does the same. And we are convinced that we're so innovative, and it's just the opposite.
So what the figure says, and maybe you explain a bit to the people how the model works, like with the subscription, with the sharing, maybe just to understand. And what the figure says,
what we have achieved.
Yes, have you achieved?
Well, so the business model is very simple. We sell monthly mobility contracts, like Netflix. So you sign up for a month, you can cancel every month, and you can continue as long as you want to. You pay 500 euros. In these 500 euros, you get this car, the only car we have, only in 2 colors, no options. So it's black or blue. And you get everything included, service, maintenance, insurance. And you get that car for as long as you want to. It's only 500 euros. It's like an expensive test drive. You don't like it, you return it after a month. But within the car is a sharing option. So within the app and within the car, you make your car shareable. And the more you share your car, the more your cost goes down. So it's a financial benefit, and it's a sustainability benefit, because our purpose is not to sell as many cars as possible, is to utilize cars better. And then we decided also we're going to create like a community. That's why the clubs that you have shown to the students also, they're not dealerships. They're not our distribution network. They're the physical evidence of the club, where we reflect what we stand for: sustainability, fun, lifestyle. And so for me, this is not distribution. It's marketing. It's the physical evidence, because I firmly believe you can build a business online, but you can't build a brand online. So that's a bit what we are. And we went live a bit over a year ago. We had a target of 10,000 members, customers last year, and we ended the year with close to 90,000. And we're now, I don't know what the latest number now, we're over 100,000 with an initial objective of just around 10,000. So we are overwhelmed by demand. We're very happy that that model that people said, it's not going to work yet. We see indeed that there is a growing amount of people who just are sick and tired of going to a dealership, choose a car, negotiate a price, choose between the hundreds of options, and then waiting 3 months and now a year until they get the car. People are tired of that old business model.
Yeah,
a growing number of people.
Yes, yes. Okay, so let's move a bit further on to my next topic, which is innovation.
Yeah.
So we already touched the base that through the Forbes magazines, but how do you encourage innovations in your company, and what is the way that you push it down as a company strategy, as a company culture down to the employees, how they live and breathe this innovation daily?
Yeah, I think for me, it's two main things. One is by enabling mistakes and encouraging people to try new things. And when it fails, to accept it and to make sure that you get quick response and reaction. So it's enabling mistakes, which sounds weird, but I think it's very important. And two, which is more difficult, is attract the right people. I have made a decision 5 years ago that we're going to recruit only a minimum number of car people, which sounds a bit, I know, not nice, but I've learned that if you want to change the car industry, don't attract too many people from the car industry, because they've all been doing the same for their whole career, including myself. So we now have 80% of our employees have never worked in the car industry. Of course, a lot of people, service people, engineers, they're car people, you need them. But in almost all the consumer-facing business units that we run, the majority, if not all, are non-car people. So I think it's selecting the right people with the right background and enabling them to try new things and to make mistakes.
So you have a feeling that when they come from outside, they will bring a new ideas and which will kind of grow into the teamwork and then up to the innovation cycle.
And I have every week my session with new employees that I give a bit of a speech like this of what it is we're doing and why and how. And I always tell them, please don't blend in. You have a different background, use it. Tell us things. We are not seeing things that you may have seen in your previous job, whether it was Nike or Starbucks, or we have people from all industries. And we see that, like now yesterday, I think I had 80 new employees this week. 3 of them came from the car industry, but even they said, we came to Lynk & Co because we want to change this industry, and the others are just saying we love it because it's a bit of a revolution. So it's I believe in attracting people in a very diverse background is essential to create change and innovation.
So when you think about innovation, what is the thing that you are the most proud of as a Lynk & Co? Would that be related to the car, or it will be related to the kind of SaaS platform or the way how you present? So where would you see something that you are really proud?
I think it may sound weird, least of all the car. Because our car looks cool, but it's very conventional. I think it's too conventional compared to the business model. I think it's our business model where I think everything is different. We basically said every touch point a customer has with a car brand, what don't we like about it? Let's fix it. No dealers, no price negotiations, no complexity of options. So we try to change all of that. So I think it's definitely not the product that I think makes a difference. I always say Tesla is a revolutionary company, but Tesla changed the product. Tesla has not changed the business. We have not changed the product, but we are trying to change the business.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I will move now to the marketing. I think that might be your favorite topic, knowing you for some time. So how do you see marketing is changing in, let's say, let's call it from analog to the digital world? Let's say 5 last years, so what do you see that the main changes? How the company should run the marketing team today?
Well, marketing is probably one of the most inefficient expenditure in any company or in most companies. I think it was Henry Ford who once said 50% of advertising is a waste. The problem is you don't know which 50%. I think that 50% was very conservative. It's probably 90%, if not more. So I think marketing is now finally changing from what we used to call above the line TV, print to more digital marketing. But look, even in my Volvo days, the spend of Volvo now has changed, but in those days, which is only 6 years ago, was predominantly the old-fashioned stuff. And it's so, look, I could talk for hours on that, as you know. Look, advertising is almost, if not even more old-fashioned than the car industry itself. It's from the outside super fancy. They all wear dark suits and dark shirts and dark ties. And what they do is all old-fashioned. We make 30 seconds TV commercials, put them in the advertising blocks on TV, and nobody watches TV because everybody watches Netflix and God knows what. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because all advertising agencies are owned by some big groups, WPP, Publicis. They own hundreds of agencies, but the agencies that sell the media are also owned by those groups. But what is more fun is that the agencies that evaluate the effectiveness of advertising is also owned by the group. So of course, TV advertising is become totally useless, but it's still the same cost. Yes. So advertising has become such a waste of money, and everybody keeps on doing it. So we said at Lynk & Co, we're not going to do any of that.
So what do you do?
So the only thing we do is social media. Is PR, a lot of PR. It's social media, PR, and what we like to do is events, predominantly our own events, like here in the clubs, and that's it. So if you would know our marketing spends compared as a percent of revenue compared to any other car company, it is a joke. It is a joke, and I think it's the right thing to do.
So what is your brand promise for Lynk & Co? So what's the value you are living for?
For us, the value is the experience. So it's in the car industry, it's you get a good car. In our value proposition is you get a good experience. And that experience is partially delivered by the car. But it's really all about the experience. And that's a difficult thing because, of course, there you learn, you get your services that you need to optimize. There's a lot of IT work that needs to be done in the background. But for us, the promise is really a fun, sustainable mobility experience.
Yes. So this sustainability, I think it's really strong. What I have seen here at the club, there are lots of things about sustainability, ecology.
Look, and I have a lot of friends who tell me I'm so fed up with this word sustainability. Everybody is sustainable. And it's true. It's become a bit of a marketing blah, blah. But let's face it, it's a luxury, blah, blah, to have. It's good that it's at least commonly accepted that it's a must. I believe no company deserves an employee or a customer if you don't have a truly sustainable business model. And the car industry, as hypocrite as it is, suddenly the whole car industry is sustainable. Why? Because we all do electric cars. Why do electric cars? Because Elon Musk has shown us how to do it. I was told for decades it will never exist, a car driven by a battery. Elon Musk has shown how to do it, and now all the rest is following. But if your business model consists on selling a product that is idle for 96% of the time, the average car on this planet is used 4% of the time. If that is your business model, to sell as many cars as possible for idle for 96% of the time, you cannot call yourself sustainable, as electric as the car can be.
Yes. So let's move to the customer experience. Why did you put this car in the cage? What is this about?
Well, you can imagine when we went with this distribution concept or to our owners, and the first question was, where are the cars? And so, well, there's one. We've even now opened our first club without the car in Rome, as you may have heard. But we said we put it in the cage because it's our beast. And we kept doing that in most of the clubs that we have now. And we like it. And it's so like, here is who we are. And by the way, here's our beast, the car. So,
I mean, when I entered first time the Lynk & Co club, I say, your PR director told me like to just register at the employee at the club and say, who is the salesman here? And they jumped on me. We are not the salesmen. You have ambassadors here, I guess.
So, and the purpose is not to sell here. No.
What is about this touch point? I was listening a lot about events. You are organizing, pizza contest and how to make a pizza, things and other things. And it looks like me, it's a social place for the people. People could come from outside and have meetings here. And
it is.
Use internet. So how this works? Why you decide to go for that?
Yeah, because after 35 years in the car industry, where we work with dealers, and after 35 years, I have not met the family that wakes up on a Saturday morning and tells their children, kids, I've got good news. We're going to our Toyota dealer today. It's not going to happen. So we said, if we then have these points, let's make them fun.
Yes.
Let's make them so fun that people would come in, even if they're not at all interested in our car or even any car whatsoever. So that's what we wanted to do. And I firmly believe that you can build a business online, as I said, but you cannot build a brand online. And people can copy our car or our product. People can copy our service, but you can never copy an experience.
Yes.
And that's what we want to create here. So for me, this is marketing expense. It's not a distribution network, because I believe you can talk about the brand, you can talk about sustainability, you can talk about lifestyle-ish stuff, but here is where it comes alive. Those people who are upset that you ask them if they're salesmen, because they aren't. For me, they are the living proof of what we stand for.
Yes.
They are not here to inform you about the car. They can, of course, or to sell. They're here to make you feel what we stand for.
Yes, that's, I think, an interesting strategy. And how do you see these strategies at other brand globally? Maybe not automotive, because I feel some kind of movement.
Yeah. Well, the car industry is still sleeping. So I think we still build dealerships, and everybody is talking about revolution, electrification. Electrification is not a revolution. It's just another engine under the hood. The car is the same. The business is the same. So electrification is, I think, not such a big deal as it's talked about. But the industry, the car industry is doing the same. You have dealerships in the cities now. Everybody's moving to an agent model. But from a consumer experience point of view, nothing changes. You see a lot of industry changing. And I think, as I said before, what more brands and industries are realizing is that experiences are becoming more important than ownership. People spend money on doing things more than on owning things.
Yes.
And the retail world is changing in that context. It's not any longer about displaying products that you can buy. It's about reflecting the brand and a customer experience that is about the brand. And I think you see a lot of industry, sports industry, that get that. The car industry doesn't get that at all yet.
Yes. Good. I mean, my last question, and then we'll go to the questions of the people. So where do you see Lynk & Co in, let's say, next 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years expanding within Europe, and then hopefully later go to the US. In the longer term, I hope that we become a service mobility brand rather than, and that we are recognized as such rather than a car manufacturer. That's how I would see the future.
So good luck with that. So I hope it will be true. So we meet in the next 5 years, and then we say what Alain said at that time was the right thing.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah. So I think we have some questions. General Karic, he's the communication and PR director of Lynk & Co. Hello, Jenan.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
So if I could just say something before you ask the questions, usually you are defending Alain from the questions from the journalists. Now you are going to ask Alain 1 question or 3 questions. It's your good chance to change the roles.
It's rather not defending. I think Alain is quite good in answering this in a very acceptable way for PR. But nevertheless, it was an interesting conversation. I've seen as well in the chat, the people following had lots of questions, and we have a little time, so we will try to answer some of these. So the first one is, what brands do you take for inspiration to create the experience within Lynk & Co?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I've been asked that before, and I don't have a good answer, unfortunately. I was asked lately, is there any brand that you look up at and that you think is comparable with Lynk & Co? And I haven't found it, which I think is maybe also a good thing, that maybe we are trying to occupy a unique space. There are brands that I like, that have created an experience more than, but I don't have one specific brand that I say like, that's the one. There's some, if I just one small brand that I looked at from a retail point of view is called Gentle Monster. Gentle Monster is a Korean sunglass brand. They have shops now in London, in Shanghai, in Beijing, New York, and their retail experience is very unique. And we looked at them because I think it's quite a unique brand. That's the only brand that I really liked, where they went beyond the product and more the experience. Check them out online. It's a weird brand, Gentle Monster, Holden.
We will stay on the topic of the culture. Another interesting question: how do you build culture in a young company while keeping the benefits of diverse background of the employees?
Another good question. And look, we were last year in January, we were 200. Now we're 750. It's my biggest worry today. If you'd ask me what worries you most today, is how can we keep that culture growing so fast? I spend a lot of time with new employees, telling them what it is we try to do. I just think, I happen to believe that it's not the management team that builds the culture, it's the people that do, but it's the management team that needs to enable the culture. So I really think what is key is that you have certain things, behaviorism, traditions in place in the company that drive that culture. And that can be super simple things. It's, for example, we have in the company, it's a very simple one, but we have every employee has to spend 2 days per year on a social activity, an activity for a good purpose. So you have to take 2 days off to do that, that we keep in contact with the reality of this world. And we have many of these small things, and it's so, I think it's so important to nourish these elements.
And then, since we have only 1 minute left, the last question is: what is your top 3 talent agenda for the organization? What is it that you're looking for in talents?
I would say social skills, perseverance, never giving up, and social perseverance. Yeah, and then within your area where you are, I would say the expertise. We have digital marketing experts, we have IT experts, we have marketing experts, but I think the expertise combined with the social skills to work with a team and the perseverance not to give up, because look what we're doing. I always say every great idea, there's more reasons not to do it than to do it. But if there's one good enough reason to do it, you should do it. And that comes for everything we do.
Yes.
Because everything we do is against what the car industry does. And then it would be so easy to say, now let's not do it. Let's do what they do. But the perseverance to just not give up and do it the way that we do it, I think that's what makes people work for Lynk & Co.
Well, it has been interesting to sit on another side of the questionnaire this time. On behalf of the audience, I'm thanking you for your answers.
Thank you. Thanks. It was I didn't see you guys in the audience, but it's been a pleasure. And I hope next time we can do it live in Geneva.
Yes. So I think it was a very nice closing. I think with this kind of cultural questions which we got from the students, behavioral, speaking about again, the characteristic of the company and what needs to be done, to be progressed in the business. And here I will just end our masterclass with Mr. Alain Visser. So thank you very much once again for hospitality, your time to join us and give your experience to our students. And just to remind you, so the next Digital Café, it's taking place 17th of May. So it's next week, Tuesday. We'll speak about the metaverse. We'll have a different use cases. Paul from Meta from Switzerland will talk about it. We will explain why, for example, at the moment, Meta is deploying like 10,000 people in Europe just to progress on this digital new space. So thank you very much once again from Göteborg, Lynk & Co Club. See you next week. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.